Welcome back. Mitch Argon here with Calneva Realty. I'm going to take you through the Reno Tahoe real estate market for July 2022 here in just a moment. Let's jump right in. Okay, surprisingly, when we look at median price, you do see that two markets, both Reno and Dayton, have set median price highs, not by much. They just bumped up just a little bit, but they are median price highs, which is a bit surprising with the changes we're seeing in the marketplace. I'll summarize on that a little bit later. We expect that the rate of appreciation or growth that you're seeing here is going to slow down. This has been coming, and of course, it's been accelerated with the rise in interest rates that's been taking place over the last 2-3 months. We're seeing a more dramatic impact currently with regards to inventory. We are seeing inventory building, and there's been some demand that's come off, which I'll show you in the next chart. But this just shows you a snapshot of where we were in July of 2021 versus July of 2022 currently. And you can see that as a percentage, we're dramatically up on inventory. In some of the smaller markets, that percentage looks more dramatic than it probably is. But if you recall, a year ago, July of 2021, we were severely constrained with inventory. There were overbidding and multiple offers on most listings. That, of course, has changed with this inventory build that's giving some buyers some more choices and giving sellers some more competition. So we've talked about median price, and I'm going to focus on homes sold. You'll see down this column here that in most markets, the home sales were down 20% or more. You can see that Dayton was an exception. It was down only 3%. That may be an anomaly for the month of June. But across the board, you can see, I would say we have an average of probably a 20%, maybe 20 to 25% reduction in sales volume for June of 2022 compared to June of 2021. The translation on that is we've lost buyers. Some of that loss in buyers is based on people not being able to qualify because of the rates that have gone up. If they were just marginally able to qualify for a loan to buy a home. And in some cases, just with the rates going up, it's pushed the payments up to the point that buyers are less comfortable perhaps buying at this time. So we've seen about a 20% drop, 20% minimum drop across the board in sales volume June compared to June of last year. What's striking here, just to point out, is that last year in 2021, those numbers were heavily constrained. If we had a lot more inventory, those numbers would have been quite a bit higher. So those were already kind of pushed down a bit just based on inventory constraints. Month supply of inventory on the far right. We are still in a seller's territory market. We're less than 4 months. You can see here we're down. Most of our markets, with the exception of Tahoe, are in around the 2 to 2.5. 2.6 is the high. So we are still in a seller's market, but you can see the month supply of inventory has raised dramatically because we were exceedingly low a year ago. You see these numbers in through here. We're very, very low. And while we're at 2.4 in the twos, we're still below the 4 to 6 month range, which is typically considered a neutral market, but it has changed very rapidly. The Tahoe market has changed quite a bit as well. That was as low as I've seen the Tahoe market in close to 20 years. So it's going to be a little bit higher just because the nature of that market being primarily now with the work from home heat off, primarily a second home market. I thought I'd put this chart in. We talk about median price and the change in median price on a year-over-year basis, and that can kind of distort things sometimes because a year is a long time, and we're working for looking at this, but it does an apples-to-apples comparison. But today, I think there's more interest on the part of our clients and consumers in general in the real estate market to see, well, what are our prices doing like since last month and since 2 months ago. So this chart will show you the major markets here in the valleys of the Reno Tahoe region. And you can see it's a 2-year look back at the median price. You may want to pause the video and take a look at this, pick your market. I'll pick one market. At the bottom here, you can see Fernley, which has had a steady rise over the last 2 years. You can see there's been a couple of periods where it's kind of come down just a little bit during that time. And it's down just a little bit here. You'll see some other markets that are slightly up, like Reno, which hit a new median price high, and Dayton, which hit a new median price high. But you'll see that it's probably a little bit too early to see any kind of a trend in here. But what you don't see here is a big drop, like a 20% drop, like we're seeing with the sales volume. The number of homes being sold has dropped dramatically. You don't see that showing up yet in pricing. And that story will be told here in the coming months as we see what's happening with interest rates, probably what happens with inflation, and what happens with supply, because we are still, as a country, and certainly as a region, undersupplied in terms of homes, both for rent and for sale. So I'll probably keep track. I'll show this here in the coming months because it's probably something that most of you will be interested in taking a look at. Whoops, real quick summary. Quick recap, we're seeing, as you saw, prices peaking in select markets in 2 of our markets. That is clearly carryover momentum. We are not in a rapidly appreciating price market right now. We're going to see the prices cool off based on these other factors we just took a look at, and they're summarized here. We've seen a rapid rise in inventory. We've seen the demand, or the number of homes sold as of June down approximately 20%. You can see it by each market in the charts. And the month supply, while greatly up from a year ago, and it probably will continue to climb, we're still technically in a seller's market territory. Now, what makes this market a little bit different, there's a couple things I'll comment on. While we're still in a seller's market territory, it really feels more like we're in a buyer market. And the reason that it feels that way is because the change of going from the highly constrained market with the low interest rates to where we are right now happened in a very short period of time. What happened in 3 or 4 months typically might happen over 18 to 24 months with those interest rates rising at a much slower pace. So there's a bit of an acceleration effect in the marketplace right now, and we're seeing that in our conversations with people, on a daily basis, and it's kind of just a acceleration effect. What does that really mean? Well, I'll just take a step back. Something else we're seeing is that this correction that we're seeing here with volume and so forth, usually corrections start from the top of the market where you have the higher price homes and fewer buyers, and you'll see prices softening there and then working down towards the lower price ranges. This market change is a little bit different because of this rapid rise in interest rates. What we're seeing is the correction happening for what I would characterize as interest rate sensitive buyers first. So a lot of our higher priced homes are being sold cash or being sold big down payments. And those buyers are less rate sensitive than, in many cases, some of the lower priced homes where we have first time buyers, for example, people who are just barely qualifying to buy a home. So what we're seeing is the market's correcting really around rate sensitive buyers as a primary measurement, as opposed to from the top prices going down. So if you're selling in this market, make sure you're pricing your home competitively. There is competition and there's less demand. And so you want to make sure that you're not just trying to put it out there at a higher price to see what somebody's going to give you. That's probably going to lead you to either not getting the home sold if you need to, or having to make 1 or more price adjustments to get the home back down into the range where the market is. If you're a buyer, of course, there's probably a lot of buyers who have concern. We've got a high inflation, we've got the higher interest rates, we still have high prices. So your cost of buying a home in terms of a monthly payment is going up, right, with these interest rates going up. And in many cases, it comes down to if you're a buyer who's going to be a near-term buyer and a seller, like you're going to relocate, you're going to be here for a year or two, or you're uncertain, or if you are buying as an investor flipper, this is probably a tricky market to be buying in. If you're looking on the long term, however, the market's change and go through all these different factors, and so we are still seeing pretty strong demand. You can see 80% of where we were last year, and those are people who are satisfying a fundamental need: housing, to put a roof over their head for them and their family, and probably plan on being in the market for some time. That covers it for this month. I hope this was useful for you. We have a lot of changes going on in the marketplace right now. And whoops, just had a mishap on a couple slides there. So we'll finish on this one. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below in the YouTube comments or reach out to your agent who works for Calneva Realty, hopefully. And we'll see you next month. Thanks for watching.